Hey, guys and dolls. Before we jump into this episode, a note about our content today. This is created for adult audiences only. We advise listener discretion. So if you need a breather, take a break and come back later. This is your Pain Game podcast, where we talk about the game of living in and with chronic pain and trauma, getting to the heart of how to heal. I am your host, Lindsay Soprano. On this show, I plan on discussing with doctors, chronic pain patients, holistic practitioners, loved ones, and anybody that is interested in having their voice heard in the chronic pain and trauma world that we live in. Well, guys, mental illness is rampant here in the United States as well as around the world. And as of this recording, yesterday, there was yet another mass shooting. And I'm not going to get into my thoughts on gun control because that's not why we are here today. And I don't want to play politics either because that's just not my bag. But the conversation about mental health and the stigma associated with it and why addiction and trauma are all intertwined is why we are here today. So let's talk about it. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my guest today, Dr. Rob Kelly, and he is a wild man. You guys think I'm wild and crazy. Get ready for Dr. Kelly. He is a sought-after recovery expert who believes in treating the causes of addiction and not the symptoms. He is the CEO of the Rob Kelly Recovery Group, an addiction and mental illness recovering coaching company that he created based on extensive research and behavior studies over the past 20 years. He is also the host of Breaking Through Addiction podcast, featuring special guests discussing a variety of mental health issues, as well as he's the author of the book, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show. I'm rolling out the red carpet for you, babe. And I'd like to start by talking about how you grew up as a chronic alcoholic and what took you to the streets. And then let's take it from there.
Excellent. Thank you, Lindsay. Hey, guys, Dr. Rob here. I'm the crazy one you hear about. That's me. Chronic alcoholic, recovered now, and drug addicts, took my first drink at 9 years old. Nobody told me that was alcoholism in the family, because all I heard as a youngster was grandfather liked a drink. Yeah, of course he did. Bloody alcoholic, that's what grandfather was. So when I took that first drink, it set off emotions that was always going to end up in a couple of ways: treatment, dead, or jail. It is hereditary. Alcoholism, not addiction, drug addiction. Alcoholism is hereditary. It's passed down from generation to generation. There's three parts of the brain that differ from any other addiction. And I have an allergy to the ethanol in alcohol. Now, drug addiction is more of a addicted personality. So just went through the normal things. When I took the drink at 9, I'm on stage with my musical family in Liverpool. The time was around 9:49 and about 20 seconds. I remember it as if it was yesterday. Took the drink because I was nervous. So my uncle said, "Hey, drink this. Give me a little beer like this." And I drank it, and the whole world just changed right there and then for me. And that continued. It continued throughout my college life, and it continued throughout my marriage, and then it continued through the first child and the second child, and eventually lost all of those and ended up homeless on the streets of Manchester back in the UK. Remember the first night there on a bench, pouring down with rain and freezing cold, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell just happened? Because I was in a blur for about a year with alcohol. I was never sober. I would never have a hangover because I was never sober. Everybody knew about it apart from me. I just had to go to that lens. Other people don't. That's why I do what I do today. A bottom, when we call it a bottom, can be done in $1 million house or a $100 house. It makes no difference. It doesn't discriminate. So, when it's addiction in the family or alcoholism in the family, beware, buyer beware. Let's get the education out there and really educate people about this disease, because it is a disease. It's a biochemical reaction in the brain.
Well, I've got more biochemical reactions going on in my brain than I know what to do with. And I was raised in a home where I too started drinking when I was 9. It had been given to me because I was an insomniac and I had massive anxiety. And so you're 9 and you're a little girl and you're up all night long and you're like moving my furniture from one side of the room to the next. I was painting, I was organizing, I was color coding. I didn't know what to do with myself. So my parents asked my grandpa, like, what do you think they should do? And then it was, well, give her a hottie toddy. And so it began, and with instantaneously, and my birth father is an alcoholic, as well as my stepmother. My mother will not say that she is an alcoholic, but she drinks 5+ drinks a day. So I don't know where the number is or how that works, but I'm not pointing fingers at all on that at all. But when it comes to when I finally like saw what was happening, it wasn't until it was way too late and I was married to a raging alcoholic. And so all of the relationships that, of course, that you marry your father, you marry your mother, whatever. And it got to the point where I was either going to join him or leave him. Right. And so I had to make the decision to cut back on my drinking and ask him to kick rocks. He was either going to drink and sell the damn Camaro, or he was going to hang out with me and still be married to me. And he chose not me. And that was a really bad idea because I'm pretty awesome. But I understand that you said something earlier about how you just like, you took that sip and just something automatically changed within you. And I totally understand that. So can you explain why that happens to us?
Yeah, because we're born this way. We're born with an allergy. We're born with the predisposition. So when we do take that first drink, so everything I say on this guy has been researched over 30 years. We've been in the industry, over 8,000 patients, trials, tests, research, laboratory, hospitals. We've done all this. So what happens with the normal 9-year-old is that someone will give them a beer, they'll either spit it out or they'll, oh, it's horrible. And that just happened to the alcoholics. So alcoholics, if you're watching this and listening to this, take yourself back to the first drink. It was not like that for us. We didn't even bother at the taste. It's what that stuff did to me in my body. So that's one of the reasons. The second reason is, and sit down and hold on to your seats, guys. Boom, baby. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, and drugs have 1% to do with drug addiction. That's the bottom line. The gateway drug is not marijuana. It's childhood trauma, but not the childhood trauma that most people teach. It's not a plane crash or a divorce. With the alcoholic and addictive personality brain, it's the smallest thing. And here was mine. How many times, Robert, have I told you, you can't go to college like your brother, you're too stupid? Boom.
There you go.
That
Yeah.
was with me 20 years.
Yeah, that narrative, that instant, for me, mine was I was never perfect. And so I was raised in a very conservative Christian home, which is far from who I am today. But, I was never going to be good enough. And I had a split family, divorced very, very young. That was hard. Of course, it's hard on any kid, no matter how old you are. It just felt like no matter what I did, I could never be good enough. And so for me, part of it was rebellion. Part of it was not having any coping mechanisms, not having tools given, also being raised in the 70s and 80s. Like our parents were just like, well, I hope you turned out okay. We'll see how it all shakes out in the end. And there's that. And that's not a slam on my parents at all, but it was just like, that's just kind of how we were raised. It was like, I didn't have keys to my house. I had a curfew, but it was like, well, just make sure you're home alive by midnight, whether you were drinking or driving or not, not that they would want me doing that, but that's just how it all began. And it continued to go all through college and into my adulthood. And it's a tough fucking thing.
It is. And only aftermath do we realize what's been going on. Because if you're living in a dysfunctional family and everybody has trauma, okay, you think that's the norm. So when a young girl sees dad coming up most nights, drunk, beats mom up, goes to bed, that girl will leave the house, go to college maybe, gets her first boyfriend. He's the boyfriend that's going to beat her up and drink every single night. Now, you might think it's crazy listening. Me and Lindsay don't, but you might think this is crazy, but we attract what we think we are worth, and we attract what we think to be the norm. So we want a normal marriage. The only problem is when you're watching that in the house, you don't know that's dysfunctional. You think that's normal. To the extent with our tests that when we saw a young girl grow into a teenager in college and meet a guy that's really nice to her, she self-sabotages that relationship and pulls out. And here's one.
100%.
Yeah. You're going to finish with me. You're going to dump me. I know you are. So I'm going to finish with you first. Boom. Because you're not going to hurt me anymore. That's the reason.
Yeah, sabotage is predisposed, right? And I mean,
100%.
yeah. And I mean, when it comes to sabotage, I've done it so many times. And I look, I've been doing a lot of timeline therapy where I'm going through what happened to me when I was 9 and what health issues kind of followed with that, and what happened here and what happened there and what happened when I was 13, and so on and so forth. And lining up when my health started to decline and when my disease state started to kick into gear. And God, you go back and you look at all of the places I sabotaged nice relationships with people, really good men standing. Nope. I was like, forget it. You're going to end up leaving me, but I'll go and try to help this sorry ass drunk alcoholic living with his mom and pull him out, and I will save him. And by doing that, it will save me. It did not save me.
No, definitely not. And that's what alcoholics end up being, is rescuers. I know that when I first started getting wealthy after I got off the streets and everything, I would hang around the guys that were still on the streets. And I didn't know why. It was because I could look down and make myself look superior. Now I've, a few dollars in the bank. But yeah, it's all about behavior. It's all about realizing what alcoholism really is and addiction really is, because it's not what you think it is, guys. Just, Jimmy next door, he drinks every day, so he must be an alcoholic. Alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. I knew people that drank more than me, that were not alcoholic. It's like when I put that stuff inside my body, something chemically, psychologically, spiritually happens to me. So, question if you're thinking at home, well, I don't know if I'm an alcoholic or not. If you can't trace 3 generations back, you're probably a heavy drinker. And when you take the first drink, can you stop? Because I couldn't. No alcoholic could.
Yeah.
We drink to oblivion. We don't drink because we like the taste of it. We drink because of what it does to us. So you hear people going, that wine, it's beautiful. No, give me anything. And 98% of alcoholics always end up drinking vodka. And the vodka companies make a fortune of alcoholics. 2 reasons. One, it's the cheapest alcohol you can buy. And the second one, everyone thinks you can't smell it on your breath. It's coming out your pores. Of course you can smell it. You stink of alcohol, but it's the biggest myth in the world.
Yeah, totally. Vodka was my ex-husband as well as myself. I don't drink hard liquor at all anymore. But it was absolutely that. Like it was that whole thing. It's clear, it could just be ice water. It could be, and it's such a tricky substance because it's got so much power over the person. And you can fake it so much. And I know I did it. And we would go through at our home, the big ass jugs, the handles of them, right? They would blow through 6 of them in a week. That is horrible. And so what do we do in your practice? What are you doing to help people that need to pull themselves out of this? How are you helping with the mental health piece that comes with addiction? Because I feel like that's a huge component. And I can honestly say that I have been through massive amounts of trauma and I live in anxiety. I still do. I have safety and fear issues from being raped and pillaged for multiple times in my life. You go through all that stuff. I believe that there are mental health issues within me because of trauma, not like crazy lock me up kind of mental health, but there's absolute things that make me so sad, make me so depressed, make me not want to go on anymore. And we can talk about suicide as well, because I know you went through that. I go through some pretty scary things when it comes to my pain, and CRPS is called the suicide disease. So no matter what, it's already, the narrative is that, well, guess what? You can just jump off a bridge and you can get over it. And it's very, very, very scary, especially when you're talking about the drugs they give us and combining it with alcohol as well.
It's true. Well, most alcoholics and addicts have lost their identity. So there's the first port of call. It's like, who are you really are? Because you're not who you think you are. We use brain spotting, NLP, somatic experience, psychology, childhood trauma, family systems. We're into the family systems a lot. So if a patient comes to us, let's say it's the husband, and anybody over the age of 18 has to join. So wife has to join our program, and any kids over the age of 18 that's living in the house has to join. When the family, and I don't mean in treatment where you go and see him once a month and he does this and he does. No, I'm talking about you living in the house. What about your trauma? So when the family are involved, the alcoholic or addict patient success rate goes up by 42%.
Wow.
This is why we have a 97, 98% success rate, unheard of in the industry, okay? The nearest one is about 16%. And we're the only company in the world that offer a money back guarantee if you relapse whilst continue to follow our program. I mean, it's not what you think it is. If we could just stop drinking, Lindsay, wouldn't it be great? Well, if you take the alcohol away, you're still left with this.
That's right.
Still left with this.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what we need to realize is our body, in our body of mind is very powerful, and brain has the power to heal most of our stuff. So I don't go to a medical doctor anymore unless I break my leg or I need stitches. You know, I don't trust them anymore because we've got 9-year-olds on Adderall, 9-year-olds on Vyvanse. It's like when we're depressed. So let's say a normal person gets depressed. He says to his friends or wife, I'm depressed. First thing he says, go to the doctor. So he goes to the doctor says, okay, I know you're depressed. I'm going to give you these SSRs to take. In a few weeks' time, you should be back to normal. SSRs, because my body is low in serotonin and dopamine, okay? So why isn't anybody asking me why my serotonin is low in the first place? Because when you're on something for depression, it limits the amount of serotonin that the body can produce. So I get somebody all the time coming to me and I go, what medication are you on? Oh, well, I'm on antidepressants. When do you think they're going to kick in? Because they haven't yet.
Yeah, of course not.
Taking them in hope.
Yeah.
What happened to that 15, 17, 19-year-old girl that was living life? You know, and what happened to that girl? Well, you know, and there's always a reason why. There's always a reason why. Childhood trauma, isolation, mixing with the wrong crowd, and repeating the child growing up with mom and dad. You get into, again, what we think we are worth, always.
Yeah, the worth part is definitely a huge component. And, you know, it's so funny because maybe not funny is the right word for it, but I've always been this bubbly, outgoing, you know, sparkly little lady over here. I've always had that personality type that will, you know, come into the room and own the room and I can talk to anybody. But at the end of the day, I am so scared and so shy. And I play a role in my life, and I have from the very beginning that I can remember of my life. I had to play this person that I didn't necessarily feel that I was. And so I created this persona that was always great, was always successful, was always this stuff. Was that true all the time? Fuck no, it wasn't. And so I got into this place where I had to be honest with myself that I was really just a scared little girl still. And I've been trying to work through not being able to speak openly or honestly with anybody that raised me, that was around me, getting out of the church, getting away from nasty people. All of those things took so much work, but it came down to owning the fact that I needed to give myself better worth. I needed to love myself. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it is absolutely apparent that I put myself above everybody else and take care of me because I always take care of everybody else before myself.
Correct. That's it. If you ask anybody, give me 3 fears, you go, I've got any fears, especially men. I'm fearful of nothing. Yeah, bullshit. I call bullshit on that. Fear runs most people that haven't recovered from life or addiction or something like that. Every single person is full of fear. We repeat what our caregivers tell us to do. So what we see is what we believe in, and what we hear, we think is the truth. So you watch a sad movie, you feel sad. You watch a funny movie, you feel funny. We take that from childhood. They teach us how to act, how to walk, how to touch toes. When it's hot, make sure you don't do that, do this, do that. So it's all about the caregivers. We repeat that. Unless we go through an entire neural pathway change and a spiritual awakening, there is something energy-wise that's with us. So there's a connection when we do grounding between our body, the ground has to be soil or earth, grass, and something else out there. There is a connection. So what we found is when we have that spiritual connection and our neural pathways are redirected from self-sabotage, our DNA changes.
So how do we do that? You know, you've talked about brain recall, brain spotting for trauma and addiction, and somatic experiencing. Can you dive into a little bit about that? Because I certainly don't know what brain recall is. And we hear like crazy about somatic experiencing on this show. And it's never really fully gotten explained in my mind that makes sense to me. So talk to me.
Okay, so memory recall is flashbacks for the normal person. When we go back to thinking about our behavior, so when addiction comes, if we think about it for a second, we have a 7.3 second timeline. Think about it, get rid of it. Don't romance it. Once you romance it, you're done. So let's look at somatic experience. It's real. Well, it's been around for years and years and years, but we've stopped listening to our body. Our body tells us way before we know that we're in trouble or illness or whatever. The gut feeling that we refer to sometimes is always right, but we don't take that. We want to make our own decisions. The world's so fast these days. So somatic experience takes you through some experiences that you get in touch with you. You get in touch with the feelings around every single space of your body. So you begin to heal from the inside out. Brain spotting is a bit like EMDR. It's only been out for about 2 or 3 years. Is a direct input from the eye, the pupil, to the subconscious brain. See, what a lot of people don't know is the eyes are part of the brain. It's not an eye, an optical nerve into the brain. The brain was always attached and the eyes were always attached and part of the brain. So when we go through the pupils, while we're following, it's like we can either use lights or a wand to follow the eyes. When they flicker, that's a bad memory in the subconscious brain. So we loiter around that feeling and that thought pattern when it comes to fruition. When it comes to fruition, we can clear that up. So that's kind of, and we go back to childhood. I mean, we always say we go back to the scene of the crime, because for somebody who's suffering from childhood trauma, it is a scene of the crime. It's something that happened to you that makes you act in a certain way today. Okay. So again, we attract what we think we are worth. And we've done loads of experiments and tests on this. It's like a guy, he's probably a 6 or 7. He will never approach a girl who's 9 or 10 in a bar. Never in a million years. Because he knows he's going to get rejected. And the biggest fear of human beings is rejection. Once we get a rejection, we become abandoned. Once we become abandoned, we become isolated. Human beings are not meant to be isolated. With communicative animals, Once you lock somebody away, isolation, like we did tests. We have a prison over in Texas that still uses the death penalty. We were allowed to go in and speak to a couple of people. And we found out that most people that hit the date of the chair or the needle were almost insane because of the isolation.
Wow.
But when you think of all that, clear all that up, bring out the real identity of that person. And we go through this a lot with wives that split from their husband. It was his programs, his friends, and we've stopped thinking for themselves. So we lost their identity. We've got to find out who you are. We've got to heal that 6, 7, 8-year-old kid still inside you, because that's the fear. If you ever see yourself acting out, there's that 6, 7, 8-year-old person inside you that was abandoned as a child by you because you was in your own trauma and couldn't take care. You were never validated or approved. So when we go into tantrums or we get scared and we run away to our room, it's the same thing you're doing to that 5, 6, 7-year-old kid. So you have to heal that bridge. You really have to heal it and then bring everything out and then kind of teach them how to live. Teach them how to be successful. Teach them how to be loved, how to be validated and approved. Set the boundaries with other people. And what we end up is this very strong person who knows who they are. And there's nothing more powerful than a person like that.
I'm taking a deep breath right now because you're talking about going back to the scene of the crime, right? And are you talking about physically actually going to where an event or something transpired? Or are you talking about us going into that place while we're sitting in a room with you or we're doing hypnosis or something like that? Is it physically we're going to that location? I'm just curious because I immediately, when you were speaking, I immediately went to the place that I was raped instantaneously. I know what I was wearing. I know what the sky was like. I know what the trees were like. I know what the smells were like. I know what my mouth tasted like. I know all of it. And I can drum it up in an instant. And it happened when I was 13.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's physically going back to that park or to that location. That's crazy. Wow. And I drive by it. I drive by the location. Yeah. I mean, I drive by it and I have to. There's like no option for me to not be able to. I just haven't walked back in. And that's been since I was 13. It's a long time. And I'm 45 right now. So
if you don't heal the trauma, then if you don't take care of the trauma, it will take care of you. End of story. And the other thing is, if you don't fix you, let's say past relationship, for instance, if you're in an abusive relationship and you split up, thank goodness for that. If you don't do the work on yourself, what happens is when you get into the next relationship, the person that cut you, you'll bleed all over the next person in your life. And they will pay the price for the previous partner. That has to be cleared up. You have to go back and find out why did you attract that guy, first of all. Most importantly is most people stay in relationships way too long because of fear, because the husband's telling you nobody's going to have you with 2 children, you're ugly. All this psychological battering is what we get from people around us. It's like it's nonsense. It's fucking nonsense. It's narcissistic behavior. You need to stay away from them people. Everyone has the power to be 100%. Most people walk around 60% of what they're worth, what they're capable of doing, but we don't do that extra work to get to the 100%. I ask my guys all the time, on a 1 to 10 basis, where are you today with happiness and success? 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Some people think, you can't be a 10 every day. Says fucking who? Show me the person that's saying that, I'll show you a liar. I'll show you a person who's saying that, because it's so possible, but people are afraid of all kind of things. Well, if I start being cocky and somebody beats me up or somebody said something, because most people put on the great show when they're still suffering. They put that mask on, then they go back home and they cry themselves to sleep. Enough of that bullshit. I used to walk into a room, Lindsay, and I used to look around, and my thought patterns was, I wonder who likes me in this room. You know what I do today? I kick that fucking door down and walk in and go, who the fuck do I like in here today? That's the difference.
I love that a lot. And you're pulling on some strings within me right now that I'm not sure how I feel about, but it's drumming up some stuff, which is good. It's one of the reasons I started the show in the first place was actually to help heal myself and to help heal from trauma. And it is working because I'm having to have these difficult conversations that I've avoided. I've avoided that person that's been the mask, that girl that waltzes in and does her show and stands up on stage and sings her aria and then goes home and I'm in a ball in the shower sobbing my brains out, And I've put on that show for so long. And I know that as soon as I started getting sick and my pain started to increase, I needed to get in and really start digging into the trauma side of stuff. And it took too long for me to get here, but I had to do it on my own, at least from my perspective. I didn't have anybody to really talk to that I felt comfortable and safe with outside of my sweetie. But, at the same time, it's kind of like, I got to get out some stuff that I don't really want to talk to you about, So, okay, now let's pivot just a little bit towards the mental illness side of this and what you see in addiction when it comes to mental illness. Are we more apt to be people that are mentally ill and what that scale is? Like, how mentally ill are these people that you're working with? Or, what are the levels of mental health that you work with? And do you get to a point where you're like, whoa, I need to get this person to a different kind of care because they're just so out of control? Or are you just so wonderful that never happens?
Got to be careful with medications. This is my personal opinion as a PhD. I'm not a medical doctor. I have 2 PhDs. Psychology and behavioral science is what I have. But there's too many medications going around that causes mental breakdowns. There just is. There's too much. The pharmaceutical companies run the world. End of story. Don't even go there. Don't even argue with that. They do.
Agreed.
So we see all sides of mental illness, from the addiction to the depression, from the depression to the anxiety, to the actually complete loss of memory, to the mentally disturbed, where chemicals in the brain need realigning. There is where we go for medication. So all kinds, all types. What we found is almost, I'd say about 90% of people can be cured, can get well, can get on with a normal life, because there's no help for us anymore. There used to be asylums where we get stuck in. They stopped that. They stopped that years ago. The prisons are full of people, alcoholics, drug addicts, mentally insane, mental illness. It's full of them. So we got nowhere to go. So what we always suggest is dialogue with somebody else. If we can help, great. We will help. But there's millions of people like us out there, not as good as us. And I don't say that out of ego. I say that out of the numbers that we look at every day from our patients. And the notoriety we have. We work with a lot of A-listers and A-list musicians and stuff. But I want to tell you, 25% of our work is pro bono. Now, there is a waiting list for that, but I just want to put that out there. We're not all cocky and look at me. But yeah, we get all sorts. Most of them can be re-dyed. It's all about neural pathways. It's all about the hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and the amygdala to start with, okay? The insula, the anterior cingulate cortex, and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, they're the 4 or 5 parts of the brain that need to heal. So let's say the basal ganglia, for instance. The basal ganglia is like a repetition, strength, and confirms part of the brain. Let's say you want to be a pilot. Apparently, you need 10,000 hours in the air. And the reason why we do that is to repeat that training. Repeat. It's like when you start driving a car. Your first lesson is so huge. The car's so big. But after you pass your test and you're driving for a month or two, now you can reverse down the driveway, wave to your mom, speak to your girlfriend, text and listen to music at the same time. That's the basal ganglia, repeating the stuff. What happens with mental illness is there's a default, especially with alcoholics, there's a default. So what happens is, we come out of treatment, we get the job back, get the girl back, the kids are happy, you're going to buy a new house, and then bang, 10 to the hour, we self-sabotage and it all starts again. So we have to look at them parts of the brain. The anterior cingulate cortex is that torn feeling conflict. The amygdala, it's the danger part. It's like a smoke alarm for the brain. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex, our coping and our strength. We lose that with childhood trauma. We lose the insula, which is when we feel tense or heart racing, it doesn't perform well. The hippocampus, which is regulates and loss of memory and all that crazy stuff, it becomes underactive. When it becomes underactive and it actually reduces in size in the brain, then we cannot regulate our life and we cannot recall some of the good times in our life. So all that with our therapy and our sessions needs to be addressed. And only when they are addressed can you have that spiritual connection. Your life's now getting in order. The central nervous system's calmed down. And now you see yourself for who you really are. Because we don't, Lindsay. I can tell some things about you that you're probably surprised when I say how amazing you are, how beautiful you are, and all this stuff. Like nobody tells us anymore, because they think we already know. Nobody fucking knows, guys. Start complimenting people. Start saying stuff when you see it. It's all left, lift each other up. If you got anything bad to say, go away. Go away. All my staff at one point had t-shirts done. That was, I'm only taking compliments today, guys. That's all. I want to hear you piss and moan. If you're jealous, God bless you. There's only two types of people in this world, Lindsay. The guys that love you for who you are, or for you, the girls that love you for who you are, and the girls that want to be you. Period. Boom, baby.
Can I get a show of hands of how many girls want to be like me? Oh my goodness. Well,
oh my God, look at them hands. Look at them hands.
I mean, there were like 7,000 just right on that one comment. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. But it is true. And thank you for saying that, because we all need to hear that message. And I love that, because it is a message that's hopeful. And that's what we do here, because I don't want to end any episode that is not with a message of hope. But it also is, we got to do some of the work, man. We've got to be nicer and kinder and more loving and generous and show and tell our loved ones and the people around us how incredible they are, just to your point, because, we don't hear it enough. And we don't get the praise or, the accolations and the things unless we're like so big and powerful and smart and have all of, millions of dollars and all of that. It's like, come on, we are just normal people going through life. And we need to be told that we're loved and that we're beautiful and that we're smart and that we're all of these things, because over years, and I can circle back to the beginning of the episode when I was talking about being perfect, all of those years of trying to be as good as I possibly could, even though the Gemini in me was like, I also was sabotaging all of the things that I was doing to try to be perfect, right? So it's just so counterintuitive. So, okay. So my next one is, I'm going to move into just a little bit really quick. I want to talk about your experience with just transitioning in the mental health part, your experience with suicide attempts. And I know that you've had them in your life, but also do you experience a lot of that when you're working with your clients? Are they more men that you work with or more women that you work with?
Yeah, I would say it's 6% men, 4% women, ages from 16 to 80 or something like that. So there's all walks of life that come to us, but I just think it's very, very powerful once you know what we are doing, once we realize what's going on in our lives, once we take the blinkers off. We just going back to the compliments for a second. You get them guys. Oh, look at Dr. Robbie. He needs to be validated. It's like, fuck you. First of all, you don't know what trauma I've been through. You don't know the hell I've been through. So yes, I'll take compliments all day long. When we say thank you to somebody, dopamine is released into our brain and into the person we're complimenting. So if you ever feel down, or you ever feel not, go compliment somebody. Go and shake somebody, hug them, give them some money, whatever you can. You will always feel better for it. So what I want to say to the guys listening at home, those guys that have got no confidence, just in that place where they never think they're going to be tall enough, blonde enough, thin enough, or rich enough, I want to apologize to you because somebody's fucking put that there. End of story, and we need to go back and we need to clear that up and put you forward. Everybody has the chance to be a billionaire, to be the best barber in the world, to own that car, to do what you do. Everybody in the world has the capability, as long, obviously, there's nothing ailments or brain injuries or that following. Everyone has a chance. We don't think we do. It's like, oh, well, I would love to be that CEO, but I don't stand a chance. Says who? Again, who's making these rules? I don't like them. I don't like the rules. Look how many times the Beatles were turned down. Look how many times that J.K. Rowling was turned down. The first billionaire author in the world, she was turned down about 27 times, and she wasn't good enough. She was stupid, and the book was just no. Don't play that, guys. Don't play anything. You're only accepting compliments today. And go forward. People used to always say to me about 15 years ago when I first moved to America, I used to say, you could be anybody you want to be. And the thing that you say back is, well, I can't be president of the United States. Well, forget your political views for a second. We had a freaking businessman with no political experience whatsoever running our country. Don't dare tell me that you can't live the dream. You can't do anything you want to do, because I'm calling bullshit.
I love you so much. Call bullshit, because it is. And we underestimate our ability to do things. And I have gone through a lot of underestimating myself throughout my life in all kinds of different areas. But one of the areas that I'm really trying to put focus on is my health and my pain, and why it came, and why it all happened. And like I was mentioning earlier about my timeline therapy, a lot of that has been helpful for me to see where I slipped up, where things happened to me and all of that, and where I lacked getting any form of like kudos. People not recognizing that I was a hurt kid, that I was a hurt teenager, that I was a hurt adult. And now I'm here and I'm in this space where I'm sick, and I'm half of my life I'm in a wheelchair right now, like all that. And it's because of all of this stuff. Like, give me a break. I got to get all of it cleared out and be who this person is that everybody thinks that I am. Because I am this person, but I have a very dark and twisty, sad little girl that still lives in here with me, that she's just eking, like, just get me out of here, get me out of here. Because the suicide thing is a very scary thing for me. It's something that is always in the back of my mind that I'm dealing with, and trying to, me even vocalizing it right now is very emotional for me to do. But it's pretty fucking hard to live in pain 24 hours a day and still show up the way that I do, So when I get into those little sad moments, not unlike the one I'm having right now, I do circle back to realize I've got such wonderful people, including yourself, in my life, and and that there's so much to live for, and I have so much to give, and all this stuff, but that I'm not going to let this pain and this diagnosis get me. Fuck that. And fuck you if you think I can't.
Something that, yeah, that's it. We walk around with this pain. I want to tell you a story real quick. When I met my wife, a brother had recently died, and we got talking about it. He suffered from a mental condition. He also suffered from alcoholism, and they all went to a party together. Him, his wife, his kids. Janet was there. That's my wife. All the family members were there. And about halfway through the afternoon, brother Michael says to Janet, I'm gonna just nip home for a bit. I don't like all this alcohol around me. I'm trying to keep sober. And he was sober at the time. And she said, okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow. He said, yeah, I'll pick you up at 2:00 tomorrow. Drove home, walked into the garage, took a gun out and blew his head off. That's depression. That is suicide. Very rarely do we get a warning, and almost everybody who suffers from alcoholism and addiction that shoots themselves in the side of the head are sober when they do it. So we need to look at a pattern with suicide. Wow. And again, there's a pattern there. See, unfortunately, we tend to ignore the people we don't like. So the guy at the back of the classroom, he started off at the front, but because he was too clever, because he got bored, he started throwing spitballs around. He stuck him at the back of the class. When he's stuck in the back of the class, he becomes alone and nobody wants to speak to him. Nobody sits. This is true story from one of the studies we did. Nobody wants to sit with him. And then obviously he's too smart. And then he gets bored. And all of a sudden he goes and does something stupid, like shoot at school or something. That's a reality, guys. You can't get away from that. Let's start loving each other. Stop saying, I'm all right. Hey, how you doing, Rob? Yeah, I'm all right. No, you're fucking not. There's a good chance you're not all right. Yeah. There's a good chance you need to speak to somebody about something, communicate. We will never know how many, and this is me and you, Lindsay, we will never know the hundreds of millions of people that we've helped with the ripple effect. We will never know that, unfortunately. But what we have to do is start to realize and accept that that's what we do. I tell my guys all the time, you don't want to get to my age and you don't want to look back and go, I wish I. You don't want to do that shit. You do everything you got to do. Do it now. Just go to the moon. Do it now. Because one thing I'm going to tell you guys is you don't have time. We all think we have time. Hey, moms, when's the last time you said you were waving your kid off to school, kindergarten, next minute you wave them off to college? Where did that time go? We don't have time. Buy that house, buy that car, date that girl, do it now. We don't have time, guys. Time goes by so quick and it's so precious. It's like, what are you going to do today to change the fucking world? What are you going to do? Otherwise, you're selfish. You're sat on your backside drinking beer or depressed, God bless you, you can't get well, or just not doing anything with that, the mundane stuff every single day. Go drink, guys. That's not life. That's surviving one, I just don't want to drink today. Come on. It's not about you. Lindsay, it's not about me and you. It's not, when I looked at me, poor me, when my guy said to me, Rob, it's not about you, you selfish pig. It's about the hundreds of millions of people out there that are waiting for you to get your shit together so your past experience will benefit others and keep them alive. Now get your shit together. And for me, it was like, oh my God. We don't want to live in the past, but our past is our greatest asset for helping other people. Oh, what do you know, Lindsay? You don't know nothing about suicide? Let me sit down and talk to you about that. Oh, what do you know about pain? Sit down and talk to you about that. You've never been raped. All this stuff that people think that we don't go through. Now, my homelessness, Lindsay, was like a fucking semester at Harvard University. The stuff I learned on the streets bodes well today when I'm talking about the disease and where it can take you. What do you know, Dr. Robin, your big millions of dollars? What do you know? Let me tell you the time I was homeless. And they go, what? This is how I help people. If you're not helping people or changing the world, what the fuck are you doing, guys?
I couldn't have said it any better. And you have a foundation that you started. Can you talk a little bit about that as well, my darling?
Oh, I would love to. So if you're just listening, I spell my name with two B's. So it's the robkellyfoundation.org, ROBB Foundation. Kelly, robkellyfoundation.org. So we started this about 4 weeks ago. That's all. And me and my wife used to spend $150,000 a year giving back into the communities, paying for, I don't know, father wants to see his daughter once a week. We pay for court cards, we pay for a suit and all that great stuff. And we just kind of, loads of people need helping. So we decided to do this. The foundation accepts money on the website. But here's where we're different, because I'm always looking for, show me where you put your money where your mouth is, Ron. So what happens is, let's say you donate $100. That $100 we use may go to Jimmy around the corner to buy him a shirt and a pair of trousers, pants to go to court. You will get a letter of Jimmy thanking you and showing a picture of him in the new stuff that you have bought. So it's all a kind of helping each other. If you can afford $1, great. If you can afford $1 million, great. And if you're in that situation where the people we're talking about, get in touch, guys. There's a good chance we might be able to help you. So yeah, the robkellyfoundation.org. It's a 501c3. So stop paying the tax man, stop paying us kind of thing. And then we will help hundreds of millions of people. We need to do that across the board. We also have the Neuro Hero Conference, San Antonio, February. We have the Neuro Realty. All you realtors, we're going to show you how to earn $1 million in the first year. That's in online. And yeah, unbelievable. We're rocking and rolling over here, Lindsay.
Well, I am glad that you ended up getting your ass off of the street and showing up and starting what you've done and gotten yourself clean and being able to be here today. Thank you for doing that. You are fucking amazing. I love your hair. I love your chair. And I really love your glasses. And you are doing some wonderful things for people all around the world. And you're doing just this episode alone, you have helped me in ways that I did not think I was going to be helped today. You brought up some stuff though. And that is what I love about doing this show, is because it does bring up things that I'm like, wow, I haven't dealt with that one yet either, and they keep coming. But I absolutely love your message of compliment people, love people, be better, be a better person in this world, show up, don't give up, love yourself, all of that woo-woo stuff. But it is so incredibly important for our mental health, our stability, and for our world and our culture. We've got a bunch of kids that are being raised that they're going to school every morning and they're not sure if they're going to get shot in the face. I went through earthquake drills right? Like that was my stress when I went into school. I had other stressors when I went into school, but that was not one of them. And I'm grateful for that. But if we can just give everybody a little bit more love and a little bit more attention and not have them be in the back row of the classroom, of our life, I think that's a beautiful message. And I'm so glad to have met you. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with before we hit the dusty trail here?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a couple of things, guys. First of all, I'm going to change neural pathways and change your life from tomorrow morning. I'm going to do it in a second. Listen, if you don't think compliment changes people's lives, next time you're in a built-up area of people, always look for someone with nice sneakers on. Sneakers are always the best. As he walks past, you go, hey, man, nice sneakers. He'll say thank you. Then turn around and watch him. He's going to look down at his shoes at least 3 times. Now, you just made his day. Now, he goes on to the girlfriend because he's in a good mood, she's in a good mood. Then mother-in-law calls, and you can get the gist. You can get all that gist. It's amazing. Okay, let's change mindset, guys, please. We're going to change mindset, and we're going to show you how to get rid of most ailments in your body. Everything grows in the body, cancers everything in a hypoxic area. So first thing we do when we get up. Now, one of the reasons why people, no human being has ever been laughing when they wake up is lack of oxygen. That's all it is. So get up. A couple of things. Take 10 exaggerated breaths in and out again. Do that. Do that 10 times. Get that oxygen around you. We only breathe around 40-50% of our lung capacity. That means our body, our brain, everything that needs nourishment with oxygen is not getting it. That's why you feel tired all the time. Go into the bathroom, lock yourself in the mirror, eye to eye. So for some of you, this will be awkward. Eye to eye. Let's start really stomping that subconscious brain, the shit out, the good in. I love you. I love you. I love you. 10 times, guys. And here's another game changer. If you brush your teeth with your right hand, I want you to do 1 week with the left, 1 week with the right, and keep changing for a month. Your neural pathways will change. And before you leave the house, say today is going to be a fucking awesome day. And you let me know if it isn't. You let me know if thought patterns and behavior to good hasn't changed, and I'll send you $100 for wasting your time.
I love that. Mirror work is tough. I just recently bought a book for me and my best friend, and it's I think it's called Mirror Mirror. Anyways, and I started the first day. We said, let's start it together. I did it, and I was so uncomfortable. Because like you just said, like, I love you, say it to yourself and look at yourself in the eye. And it is so sad that it is that awkward for us to do. Thank you for all of that. That was just wonderful.
Oh, Lindsay, one more thing.
Oh, one more thing. But wait, there's more.
One more thing real quick. Guys, if you're at home and in that position I talked about, where you never think you're going to be anybody, you're depressed, you're contemplating, maybe thinking about suicide, you're just, you're in that horrible space, you're split with your wife, 214-600-0210 is my personal cell phone number. I want you to text me. And when you text me, obviously I'm crazy busy, but I will text you back and I will arrange with you a 10-minute phone call. That 10-minute phone call will be like a pep talk. I will change your life in the 10-minute talk that we have. And again, money where mouth is, please, Rob. If I don't, I will send you $100 for wasting your time. You call me. I would rather give you a 10, 15-minute pep talk than hear of your funeral next week.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Rob Kelly, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today with us. I will put all of his information on how you can get him, as well as his cell phone number, apparently, out for all of you guys. You can find him on Insta, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, his website, robkelly.com, 2 B's, 2 L's, and also the robkellyfoundation.org. Please don't forget to check that out. Thank you again for your time today, you wild and crazy man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Lindsay.
You are exclusively invited to share this changing your mindset, addiction-free VIP pain journey together. Let's get to the heart of how to heal with you by my side. And just like Rob was saying, if you are living in and with chronic pain, or you're feeling suicidal, or any of those things, give us a holler, slip into our DMs, text us, whatever you want to do. We are here for you. That's why we are doing episodes like this on this show, and why he is doing it on his show as well. So please send them our way. I'd love to have my community of listeners here helping to support all of the other listeners and all of the guests on this show together. Please follow the Pain Game Podcast wherever you digest your podcast content. We will be there. Visit us at thepaingamepodcast.com and follow us on all the socials. Thanks for listening, my little VIPs. Catch you on the other side.